I survived 100 days in the wild Australian outback of Dinkum, and it was brutal. Me and 4 of my friends ditched our boring lives and started over on a remote island in the middle of nowhere. No rules, no comforts, just kangaroos, crocs, and chaos. Our mission was mainly to survive, but also to build up a thriving town from scratch, unlock vehicles like a helicopter, brave the deadly mines, get at least 5 residents to move in, and turn our home plots into cozy masterpieces. Was starting over fresh in the Aussie wilderness actually worth it? Let's find out. This all starts in my original hometown of South City, which is cold and miserable, and my life feels truly unfulfilled. That's when I found this help wanted sign from someone named Fletch, asking for some young go-getters to join her on Sunburn Isle. I, of course, take her up on this offer, get on a blimp, and head out to start my new life in the wild Australian outback. Day 1 kicks off in the summer. It's super hot, but we're flying over the island, and I'm officially getting my first look at what it's going to be like to live in this wild environment. I have no idea what I've signed up for, so I'm really relying on Fletch to really help me figure out my way around the island and what I should do next. She gives me a base tent, tells me to go find a place for us to set up camp just for the night as we wait for the rest of our friends to arrive. I run around, I find some flat land to put down Fletch's tent first. Now after finding the perfect spot for Fletch, she gives me my own tent and I need to find some place to put this as well. I figured the best place would probably be right next to her own tent just so that we could stay close together while we wait on our friends. So I put down my tent and run inside to kind of look at the space. So then I throw down my sleeping bag, also gifted to me by Fletch, and I end the day because I'm already exhausted from the traveling. Day 2 kicks off really more exciting than we expected as Kato and I are sitting on top of each other and floating up into the sky endlessly, which we were completely shocked about.
I'm literally...
No!
I wish I could see.
Oh my god! Kato! Are you... Kato, what do we do? Oh,
I fell off.
we're falling. We're dead. Yeah, we were completely sure that this was the end for us, especially being on day 2. That would have been embarrassing. But fortunately, we survived, and I run outside the tent to find all of our friends are finally here and ready to start this adventure. We've got Kato, Val, Dan, and Steph all right here, ready to go, and we run in first thing first to overwhelm Fletch, of course. We start jumping on her head, and we wait because we need to talk to her about what to do next on this island. Once she's ready to speak to me, she tells me that I need to purchase a table saw from John. She also tells me that she's going to give me half the dinks, which is really helpful because we, of course, have no money. So I take my 2,500 dinks, and I start by kind of getting some snacks before visiting John. I'm going to need those for energy. I catch some bugs just to kind of explore around a bit, and I open my adventurer's journal to take a look at all the different tabs, including our Critterpedia and our milestone rewards, which I redeemed some already. These are going to be useful, and I'll tell you more about them in a second. Now, after redeeming my rewards, it was time for my first snack. You can see I'm already exhausted, and it's only 10:20 in the morning. It's going to be a really long journey. So I'm running around, and that's when Dan comes to my rescue with bananas, which of course I throw back on the ground because I hate bananas and they're disgusting. I would rather starve. So then I run over to John and we have a nice little chat about the table saw. And this is where we run into our very first issue on the island because it turns out we can only purchase one item from John's at a time. Now we all can sell our resources to make money, but we can't purchase double tools or double resources, anything from John's shop. So I take a look and see that the table saw is actually already sold, so I go off to try to do something else to fill the time for the day. My goal is to remain as productive as possible, so I go to the crafting station to see what we can make. I see that I can craft a campfire, and I figure we could cook some food on this to really help with our stamina a bit. It's not going to do much, but anything is better than nothing. The next order of business was to talk to Fletch. If you remember those mileage points that I pointed out just a little while ago, well, you can use these points to purchase licenses. The first licenses I went with is a mining license, the fishing license, and also a logging license. These would allow me to purchase the tools that I needed from John's shop, but as you can see, those tools are already sold out. So now we have to rely on each other to share all of our tools, which really becomes a hindrance in this entire experience. But luckily, Steph was kind enough to share her pickaxe with me, which is perfect because I really wanted to get started on collecting up some valuable resources. The first thing I wanted to do was to find some iron and also some copper, which I wouldn't say is rare, but you have to search around a bit to find it. While I was out searching for the resources, I realized exactly how dangerous the outback is because a lizard just executed a dog. But hey, I took up on the opportunity to get some free meat and kept it pushing. By the end of the day, we were all pretty exhausted from our second day on the island, so we threw down our sleeping bags and called it a day on day 2. Day 3 kicks off bright and early in the hot summer sun, and the first order of business is to get to John's shop so I could hopefully purchase some tools today. So I run to the back and see what we have, which lucky for me, there's a little bit of everything, but we kind of have to chat about what tools we all can share or what we all need individually so that we can, make the best of this situation. I decided to go with an axe so that I can start chopping trees. I also decided to have a little chat with John and see if he had some extra work or anything that I could help him with in order to help improve our relationship. He tells me he'd like a blue spotted flathead for whatever reason today, but I didn't have a fishing rod, so the next thing I purchased from the shelves was a fishing rod so that I could start catching fish. I took my first shot at fishing and oh my, this was going interestingly to say the least. Something is wrong with this fish. What are they doing? I don't know if I was doing something wrong or what, but the fish just simply weren't biting. So I gave up and went and talked to Fletch instead, naturally. She says she wants to get John to move into the island, which we can do by befriending him. She also gave me the crafting recipe for a storage chest and some nails. So I wanted to make one of those almost immediately so that my inventory doesn't get overwhelming at the very beginning. In order to craft a storage chest though, I was going to need some wood planks. So I headed over to the table saw and started to saw down some of the wood that I've been gathering with my axe for the day, which is when I noticed our friends were placing down some fish and some other insects and stuff outside of John's tent. But most importantly, I noticed that Dan had caught a blue spotted flathead. I asked if I could give it to John, which I did, and that was a good way for me to improve our relationship with him for the day. He even gave me a Nordic cabinet as a thank you. Now I still needed more wood for that storage chest I was working on, so I started chopping down some trees, but I was rudely interrupted by a giant bird that tried to attack me. I have no weapons and no means to fight, so I just decided to run away. I also spent some time today working on my daily duties. Now daily duties are a great way to earn mileage points every day. There's just 3 tasks that you need to focus on completing every single day to earn mileage points. The one that I was working on today is planting some trees. This was taking up a lot of my time for the day, but I eventually finished off everything I needed to craft the storage chest, which I was really happy about because I love storage. Now, I decided to just put this down next to our tents so that we could all utilize the storage together, which brings us to the end of day 3. Day 4 kicks off with John visiting the island again, which is really good because at this point we were able to get John to agree to move in. So now it's officially time for us to place down his store, and we really wanted to pick the perfect place. So we all kind of gathered around and decided on what spot we should kind of put down the shop. We placed down the construction site for his building and celebrated the fact that we officially have our first villager moved into the island. But the work wasn't done yet. I spent the rest of the day gathering resources and working on leveling up my skills. 1, because we need the resources, but 2, because we need to pay off town debt. My pickaxe ended up breaking, so I decided to move on to fishing for the rest of the day, and it looks like the fish were actually behaving today. I caught my very first fish on the island, which was an eel-tailed catfish, which was cool, I guess. I also did some bug catching just because it's one of the easiest things to do right now, especially as we share different tools. The next order of business was to sell all of the things that I had gathered for the day so that I could also start to pay off the town debt. With everything sold, I made about 10,000 dinks, and the next thing I did was go straight to Fletch's so that I could pay off the town debt. So I donated 15,000 dinks to help out. I continued my gathering and exploring of the island, which is when I came across my very first Bruce, and oh my god, they are literally terrifying. In a couple of days, we'll figure out exactly how terrifying they are, but I decided to go ahead and call it a day because it had been a long one. Day 5 kicks off with a lot of excitement considering I set myself on fire, which was absolutely wonderful and a great way to wake up in the morning. I ran straight over to John's Goods, and the first order of business was to purchase some new tools. As usual, we all had a chat about which tools we wanted to use for the day, and I was able to get another pickaxe considering mine had broken the day before. So I purchased a pickaxe for 1,200 dinks, and also sold some of the extra resources that I had in my inventory because we were going to need a lot of dinks, clearly. I stopped by to check how the construction was going with John's Goods, and everything looks like it's coming along really nicely, which was super exciting. Now I had enough mileage points to go ahead and purchase a new license, so I went looking around for the next license I wanted to purchase. I decided on the hunting license because it would give us some new tools and resources in order to kind of hunt around the island. and that was something we were going to desperately need. I also expanded my inventory with the tool belt license, which allows me to expand my tool belt slots by 1. Now I also had some bugs to donate, which we were kind of just placing outside until we had someone visit for the museum, but I accidentally just let this spider go. The next order of business was to craft a weapon because I needed something to defend myself out here in this wilderness. These animals are absolutely insane, and I just wanted to be prepared for whatever I might run into. Now, of course, the first thing I decided to do was to go and fight the first creature I ran across, which just so happened to be a bush devil, and I learned really quickly that these are not the creatures that I should be messing with at all. I literally have no idea what I'm thinking right now, because not only does this go from bad to worse, but I come very, very close to dying right now. I finally get the genius idea to run away after I'm set on fire and have absolutely no stamina to even run away, so at this point, now I'm truly fighting for my life. Now, as if it couldn't get worse, I thought maybe if I jumped in the water to swim away, I'd be fine, but it turns out these little things can swim as well. I just barely managed to get away, and that was a learning lesson for me today. Now, luckily I had purchased some of these first aid kits from John, so I had something to heal myself back up, which was really useful for my current condition. After that exciting ordeal, I decided to spend the rest of my time mining because it's a safe activity for the most part, so I collected a bunch of tin and iron and then called it a day for day 5. On day 6, we all jump out of bed and run straight over to John's Goods because the store is officially built up, and this is a huge milestone for our progress on the island. Not only do we have our first villager, but now we can purchase more resources that we will really need. As I walk into the shop, you can see we not only have tools to purchase now, but we also have vegetables and fruits, and even a selection of tools that we could use in the future to help build up the island. Now, as cool as it was to see John's shop, I also wanted to spend some time today scoping out some locations for my home in the future, so along the way, I picked up some seashells. I even broke down some of these old containers that had technological parts and other things in them. I even got stung by my very first jellyfish, which was really not pleasant at all. Just another reminder that life on this island is tough. Through my exploration, I also decided to tackle some of those daily tasks that I have to do every day for those mileage points, so I collected wildflowers and other little things. But that's when I magically got the courage to take out a croc. Now you may be asking yourself, why would you actively pursue a croc? Why would you do that? And I don't know. The answer is truly I don't know. But it was too late to second guess myself. I had to see this through. Ouch, ouch, ouch. I slayed the crocodile.
Nice.
As you can see, the croc didn't stand a chance, and this newfound confidence had me just fighting crocs everywhere. But I guess that confidence isn't misplaced though, because I took out a second croc for the day and was really, really proud of myself. We wake up on day 7 to someone new visiting the island, which was really exciting, and run straight back into town so we can go see who it is. Turns out that this visitor is actually Theodore, which is perfect because we had tons of bugs and fish that we have been collecting to donate. So I head back outside and start gathering up some different bugs and fish that we could use to donate so that I could then give them to Theodore. The goal is to get him to move in, so the more donations, the better. I donate what I can, which is perfect because after everyone finished donating, Theodore was ready to move in, which means now we need to pick a new spot to place his museum. This is another huge milestone because now life is starting to finally come together on the island, and 2 new buildings that will help with our life around town. So I take a look at the little box to see what we need to donate. Turns out that we need 15 gunwood planks, 5 palm wood, some cement, and some nails in order to get this place all built up. I run back over to our little makeshift crafting area and gather out some of the resources that we already had ready to go. I also worked on crafting up some of those nails that we'll need as well. I then donate all of the resources that I can to get this building up and running. And through our team effort, this building should be starting construction tomorrow. I also paid a visit to Fletch to see if I could help her with anything, but this really goes bad for me because I decided to buy 3 iron bars by accident for 16,000 dinks, which left me with literally no money. Yay! This was absolutely wonderful. I cried about it a little bit in the rain right here. Luckily, I had a lot of stuff to sell, so I ran over to John's Goods and sold everything in my inventory, which made me back about 14,000 dinks, so I made most of the money back, I guess. Things were looking up though, because John wanted to purchase that crocodile meat that I had on me for 15,000 dinks, so now I had made at least a surplus of money for the day. I wake up on day 8, and I spend a lot of time today doing just regular tasks, such as getting to know the villagers, doing some favors for them, and also leveling up my own skills. So I start by going over to Fletch, just just to see if I could purchase any new licenses, considering I had 2,000 mileage points to spend. I take a look at what's available and I noticed that there's a farming license, which I figured would definitely come in handy, which gets me a ton of new blueprints, including a scythe, scarecrow, a grain mill, and also a melon scarecrow blueprint. I still had more mileage points to spend, so I go in and expand my tool belt by 1 slot again, because the more inventory, really the better. Last but not least, I also decide to get a trapping license, which would allow me to trap animals and sell them for dinks, which would be really helpful. The next order of business was to talk to John and see if he needed anything. He said he was hungry and wanted something to eat, so I gave him some bananas. Now, it turns out John and I actually have a lot in common, because John says he don't eat bananas, they're disgusting. Well, he didn't exactly say that, but you get the drift. He didn't want the bananas, which I don't blame him. And I had also talked to Fletch, who said she needed some palmwood planks, so I got started on chopping down some palmwood trees, and then I turned the wood into planks so that I could gift them to her. Now, after giving her the palmwood planks she wanted, she also gave me a reward back, which turned out to be some bedtime slippers. I don't know, I put them on anyway because I didn't have any shoes, and anything was better than nothing. Day 9 is super exciting because we have someone new visiting the island, so the first thing we all do is, of course, run over to go greet whoever it is. It turns out to be Clover, which is even more exciting for me because this means eventually I'll be able to actually wear something cute besides this pink top and shorts. So I greet Clover and get to know her a bit before I take a look at her inventory and start purchasing some new clothes. I purchased some white flats and also this green hat that I thought was cute on the mannequin, but it turns out this hat is actually very much so giving grandma, as you can see here. This hat has aged me 100 years. Hi, it's me, Granny K.
With your little shoes.
Baby, would you happen to have a butterfly on you? I could just need one butterfly to donate, baby. Just one. Just one.
CK right now.
And if
What
you,
is she wearing?
what do you mean, babe? This is a brand new hat.
That's the hat I wore when I was a grandma playing this.
Yeah, so I guess it turns out that I have actually terrible taste in hats, but I try to ignore that and just sell all of this stuff in my inventory to John so that I can make some money to pay off the town debt. And then I pay a visit over to Grandma Fletch, who only further confirms that my hat is truly grandma because she said, "Oh, your hat looks pretty comfy." That was all the confirmation I needed though, so I threw the hat in the trash and met the group to place down a new bandstand. This was a recipe that Fletch gave to us, and we were really excited to see this all built up. The rest of the day was spent doing a bunch of different things, like selling a cicada to Fletch for 12,000 dinks, which I was really happy about. And by the end of the day, I was truly exhausted. It was time to put down some paving, doing our first little take at some decorating. So I put down some of this stone path right outside our little workshop area just to give it a little bit more interest. And then finally sit down in front of the campfire to take a breather next to Dan, who we then have a dance-off and emote competition with. Things get even weirder right before bed because what is Dan doing? I don't know. It's time for us to just go to sleep. Day 10 is the epitome of chaos because we wake up and decide we're going to try to tackle our daily task of collecting like 20 apples each. So we all pile into Dan's boat, which he crafted. And as you can see, the boat's a little small, so we all have to kind of get creative with where we're going to sit. Some of us even sit on top of each other's heads. After we were all uncomfortably settled in this boat, we take a very cozy stroll straight out to the middle of the ocean. And as relaxing as this seems, I may or may not have suggested we poke a Bruce.
Hey, a shark. Let's take on this shark together.
Oh my gosh. No. No.
We can do it. This is our chance.
Oh my god.
Ah!
Oh no!
Oh, no. Not me. Not me. Choose somebody else.
Not
my gosh.
me. Not me.
I'm dying. Oh. Dying.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Oh no. Oh no.
Steph's gonna die.
Steph's dying.
No. No.
Look at her body.
Now, before you all get started on blaming me for Steph's death, I blame Dan, who completely ripped the boat out from underneath us. At least our savior Val is actually trying to redeem Steph's death, but we all pile back into the boat anyway because there's nothing more that we can do but continue to try to find some apples for the day. We finally come across some apple trees and we all dive off and it's off to the races. We're just competing to see who can get the most apples at this point. Kato got the first tree and I run off to try to find my own. We do end up collecting enough apples to satisfy that daily task, but this all seems like a lot of chaos for a little reward. But between the shark attack and the apple gathering, it's been a long day, so I head on back to camp. Day 11 starts off with another new visitor, and this time it's Rain, which is really exciting because Rain explains to us that she's kind of like a nomad who goes around selling seeds, and we really need to start a garden. Now, we want to get Rain moved in because one of our goals is to get all 5 residents moved in, but we have to leave that up to Dan, who's kind of like the owner of the island. So I leave Dan to build a relationship with Rain and run off to John's Goods so that I can start purchasing some more tools. I opt in to purchase another pickaxe because this is just a tool I'm using a lot and obviously breaking a lot. I also buy another bug net, which sets me up for my day. The next person I visit is Fletch because I have some more mileage points that I want to spend, so I start applying for some licenses. The first one being the handling license, which would allow me to raise some chooks. I get the blueprint for a bird coop, which is exciting, and then I go back in and purchase a cargo license, which would expand my pockets by 3 slots. Lastly, I purchase a landscaping license, which gets me a bunch of decorative blueprints, which is really exciting. I also paid a visit to see how the bandstand is coming along, and it's all built up and looks absolutely amazing, which we were all really excited about. I then run over to visit Kato, who looks like a masked villain, and also Val, who are working on our new garden setup. Starts out with just a couple of seeds, but I decide we need some more, so I run in and buy some watermelon seeds and also some green bean seeds. I drop off the new seeds I just purchased, and then I pay a visit a little bit later to see how the garden's coming along. And I have to say, after you added a little fencing, it looks really, really good. On day 12, I wake up with one goal, and that is to level up my mining and my logging skill. But first, I wanted to take care of my daily duties, which was to dig up dirt, chop down some trees, and also find some buried treasure. So I start by digging, find a little treasure, and then I focus on chopping down trees, which this was really cool because I found my first giant beehive. This thing is massive. I didn't really know what to do with it, but I can tell you that I'm really excited to have one. So I take the beehive to John's Goods, where I throw it down on this little scale right here, and it turns out that depending on their weight, beehives are actually worth a lot of money. John tells me he'll give me about 10,000 dinks for this beehive, and I was ecstatic. With my pockets a little bit heavier now, I got back to chopping down some trees. This is important because as I level up my skill, I'll get better licenses to make better tools. I also spent some time mining for iron and copper, which also will get us some really helpful resources, but by the end of the day, I'm exhausted, so we call it a night. The good news is I leveled up my mining to level 6 and also my foraging to level 8, which will be really helpful for my licenses. On day 13, Clover's visiting the island again, which is exciting because I'm always looking for new clothes to buy. I run in, have a little chat with Clover before I take a look at the inventory. I see we've got some raggedy shoes, but also some orange comfy shoes. But most importantly is this little duck shirt that you see right here. Just keep that in your mind for later. I run over to our crafting area and see that we only have 2 furnaces, but I really think we need some more just to optimize the amount of resources we can craft at one time. I also process a bunch of the gumwood logs that we have in our inventory because we need planks more than we need the logs, so I just get to work on doing some of those tasks. The next order of business was to start looking around for my official home plot, as Dan had finally got the deeds we needed for everyone to get their own home. So I set out on finding the perfect area. That's when Dan meets up with me because he's ready to put down my home plot, and I still have not found a location, so he spends the next couple of in-game hours really just following me around while I complain about not knowing where to put my plot.
Maybe up here, right, Dan?
Yeah, why not?
Dan said just pick anywhere, please, I beg.
It's all good.
Whatever.
Dan seems pretty casual about it, but I'm stressed. But this is where things quickly take a turn.
Wait, is this your duck shirt?
Oh, the duck shirt's there?
Yes.
What? Dan,
Can you buy it for
have
me?
to get
And no,
it.
it's closed.
No.
Why would if I wasn't playing real estate agent all day, I'd have my duck shirt.
No. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Dan. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so it turns out that duck shirt from earlier was actually Dan's in real life branded shirt for the game, and he missed that opportunity because I spaced it, which I'm really sorry about. But we did get my home plot put down, which I guess is a win for the day. On day 14, I'm still feeling really guilty about the shirt, but I needed to focus on gathering up all the resources I need to build my house. So I start by pulling what I need from the storage chest and also working on making some planks, which really took most of the day. By 8:30 p.m. at night, I had everything I needed to contribute to my box. So I put in all the required resources and and felt pretty happy about the fact that my house should be built up by tomorrow. I wake up bright and early on day 15 to see Rain's visiting the island, but who cares? My house is built and I'm so excited to officially have a place to call my own. So I jump out of my sleeping bag and run inside to officially take a look at the details, and the space is looking really, really good. I'm so happy to finally have a home. I throw down my sleeping bag and then run into town when I'm quickly greeted by this weird tombstone. I am shocked and appalled.
I'm sorry, here lies Kay and Dan's friendship?
It's a shame, huh?
What happened?
Yeah,
I
what
know.
happened?
What happened, indeed.
What happened is the duck shirt. I guess that's where Dan just drew the line, even though he had us attacked by sharks. Anyways, I ended up paying a visit to Fletch to check on the mining license, and I really needed to level up my skill. I had a whole bunch of mileage points to redeem, so I spent some time doing that before I moved on to focusing on mining for the day because, again, I need to level this skill in order to get the new license. So I chopped some trees, I mined some ore, and ended the day by crafting some simple animal traps so that Dan could teach me how to catch some animals around Dinkum, which brought us to the end of another busy and really long day. On day 16, the first thing I wanted to do was sell this beehive that I had found yesterday by chopping down some trees. So I throw it down on the scale to see how much it weighs, and John informs me that he'd give me about 9,000 dinks for it, which I accept. And then it's time for Dan to teach me how to trap some animals. So we have this little pad on the ground here, and we need to place the traps right at the top and lead the creatures into the traps, or they could just run in themselves, whichever one, but this was all trial and error and extremely dangerous, as you can see. Now, our first animal gets trapped and taken up into the sky, and now it's my turn to put this to the test. I throw down my trap and wait for a mew to run into it, and there we have it. I caught my first wary moo, and off it goes. What a satisfying feeling. Dan also threw down a bulletin board, which is really exciting because this bulletin board allows us to keep track of lots of different things. One of the things being any of the tasks that our residents need help with would go on this bulletin board, but it also serves as a calendar. This calendar will show us resident birthdays and also any events that are coming up, so that's really helpful. I pay another visit to Fletch because I have 4,000 mileage points to spend, but I still haven't leveled up my mining skill enough, so I decided to go for a logging license, which unlocked the ability for us to craft a copper axe. Now this is really helpful because this axe will not break as often, which would be super helpful in the future. Now I also wanted to try my hand at trapping my own animals, and again here I am messing around with the bush devils, which I don't know why I keep choosing the most difficult animals to try to hunt or even trap, but here goes nothing. I run in and wake them up from their little naps, and they don't seem very interested at first, but I finally aggravate one enough to chase me, which this turned out to be pretty easy. I ran them into the direction that I wanted them to go until they eventually got trapped, just like you see, and off those little devils go. Now this one decided to take a nap, so I poked him in the butt and ran back towards the traps again because I was set on catching 2 today for whatever reason. Feeling pretty confident with my trapping skill, I run back home because today I also wanted to make a little crafting area right outside of my house because eventually we would have to start decorating, so having a crafting table and such would help with me not having to run all the way back into town to craft. Now later on as I'm exploring, I did come across something really interesting. I needed to kind of make myself a stepping area to kind of get up the side to reach it, but I managed to find a tower here that was sparking and broken. I had no idea what this thing was for, but I read the little box and it turns out it's missing some parts, which turns out to be all those little technological parts that we find through metal detecting around the island. So I place a marker on the map as an area to come back to. After a full day of trapping, fighting, and exploring, I decide to return to my sleeping bag and call it a day. On day 17, I'm hurrying into town because we have the most important visitor of all visiting, which is Franklin. This is not overwhelming for him at all, is it? He's pretty busy, so I decide that I'm going to run out and go talk to Fletch instead to purchase some more licenses. I'm taking a look at this building license, and I purchased that one so that I can get access to some bridges that I think will be helpful for decor. And then I take a look at their brewing license, and this will help me brew some drinks, which I thought could be pretty cool and maybe a good way to make money. And then I go back to check on Franklin, and it turns out we're the only 2 in the tent, so I have a little chat to get to know him. And that's when he informs me that he'll pay good money for shiny discs, which we had a ton of. I also took a moment to take a look at what he could craft for us, and this is why he's so important. We can get jet skis, motorbikes, lawnmowers, and more, so we're really going to need to get him to move in as soon as possible. A little later in the day, Stephs informs us of some pretty valuable information.
Y'all,
Yes?
if you are at full stamina and you eat a drumstick, like the giant drumstick, it makes your stamina bar bigger.
Oh, we have a bunch of those.
Now, I truly can't believe it took us 17 days to figure out that different foods will actually improve our stats in different ways, but I decided to put it to the test. I down a couple drumsticks and see that it does, in fact, improve how much stamina we have for the day, which was extremely helpful. I then pay a visit to Dan because remember those animals that I sold? Well, I was trying to go see if I made any money from them, and it turns out I didn't.
Dan, there's nothing here. Sorry.
There's nothing in your mailbox?
No, well, not in yours.
You sent away animals, though.
It says Dan did it, so
It
Dan
says
probably
Dan.
gets all of the stuff
Oh my gosh.
for us doing it.
Yeah, so it turns out because Dan's the owner of the island, any animals that we trap and sell actually go towards Dan's funds and not ours. Although Dan does promise to spend the money wisely, we're all pretty skeptical of that, if we're being honest. First thing I did on day 18 was run down to the bulletin board, and I saw that it was Theodore's birthday today. I also checked the residence request and saw that Theodore was also looking for 16 hardwood paths, which works out perfect for me. So I got started on crafting up all the paths that I would need and also getting him a birthday gift, and then I decided to run straight over to the museum, which is when I found everybody was there spoiling Theodore with gifts. Mainly food. Honestly, I'm not mad at it. It's good for him. I gave him the 16 paths that he requested, which he also paid me 5,000 dinks for, which I was really happy about. It was a pleasant surprise. Now it was time for a quick break to worship the giant chicken drumsticks. This will not be the first or the last time. But after that, I decided to get back to work, and I wanted to craft a billy can kit. Now, if you remember, I purchased this kit for brewing, so this would allow me to make drinks and jams. So I crafted one of those and headed back towards my plot. I nearly avoided death by a crocodile and made it to Steph's house, where I stole a pickaxe that she just so happened to leave lying around. I then spent some time mining for the rest of the day because I'm still working on leveling up my mining skill. It's just a really slow process. The good news is, after I mined for a lot of the day, I had enough copper in order to make a copper axe, and this axe would prove to be more difficult to break while chopping down trees. I also paid a visit to John's Goods. I wanted to purchase some more tools that will help me build up a little crafting station at home, so I purchased a furnace and also a saw that I can add to my station. It was getting late, so it was time for me to head back home and place down my billy can kit. This would be a good time for me to experiment with what kind of jams or even drinks that I could make. I had a ton of apples on me, so I decided to start with apples. I threw the fruit inside the billy can kit. In the meantime, I decided to put down the new tools that I purchased, so I placed down my saw and also the furnace right next to it to finish off my little crafting area. I finished off my day by putting down some of the furniture that I had been gifted and been finding around the island. I had this pink little couch and also an end table. It didn't look great, but at least I had furniture. The good news is I leveled up my mining to level 12, which was great. On day 19, Clover was visiting the island again, which was great because she should be pretty close to moving in. She's visited a couple times now. Also checked the billy can kit to find out my apples made apple jam, which was really exciting. I then paid a visit to Clover and saw that we were purchasing out the store in order to catalog all of the new clothing that we could buy. So I run outside and we all start cataloging the different clothing items we have, some of which required us to remove some of our own clothes. And Kato might have taken it a little too far because she was practically in her underwear. Inspired by Kato to put on more clothes, I decided to go inside and purchase a pink hoodie in the dead of summer. Don't ask me why. After wasting $7,000 on a sweater in the summer, I decided to pay Fletch a visit so I could purchase some new licenses. As I mentioned, I had leveled up my mining skill, so I was hoping by now I could purchase a new mining license, which I could. So I went ahead and did that, which unlocked the copper pickaxe, which is so amazing. This was desperately needed. I quickly ran to the crafting table and gathered up everyone's raggedy pickaxes so that we could make copper pickaxes that would be more durable moving forward. Now, after purchasing the mining license, this also unlocked the ability for us to purchase a deep mining license, which is a deed that allows us to go into the mines. It was 3,500 mileage points, and I went ahead and purchased it because we really needed to make our way to the mines. Although I will say I'm not really looking forward to it. I went back home for the rest of the day and put down another billy can kit because apple jam is pretty profitable, so I figured I could just start doing that to make some more money. On day 20, I jumped out of the bed and ran outside to collect up the rest of my apple jam, and I was really eager to go to John's and sell, so I sold 3 of the jams and also a couple butterflies, which came out to 11,000 dinks, which I think is pretty good for making some jam. Now for the rest of the day, Steph and I decided to go on a little hunt. We really needed some more giant drumsticks, so it was time to poke some giant chickens in the butt. Unfortunately, these birds do not go down easy, so you really do have to put up a good fight and be careful not to die in the process. After what felt like hours, Steph and I finally took down our first mew, which got us about 2 drumsticks. So we spent the rest of the day hunting down mews after mews. I even contemplated taking down another Bruce, but I decided against it. Lucky for us, while we were out hunting, I did come across another one of the towers, and I decided to repair this one because I had all the parts that we needed in order to kind of fix it up. So I added in all of the discs and electronic parts, and voila, we have a working tower. But what does it do? It turns out that once you repair these, they actually act as fast travel stations that you can use to travel to other towers. So I test the one that's next to Val's house, and as you can see, you basically teleport. It was really cool, and Val looked really impressed. We did some jumping to celebrate. Now, I took a break from all the excitement to pay a visit to Dan's house, as all of our mail gets mailed to his house. I wanted to see if my package from Clover arrived, which it did, so I collected my pink hoodie and then decided to pay a little visit inside Dan's house, which is when I saw he had a wooden bat on display. Kind of weird, so I got up out of there and decided to head into town, where I put on my pink hoodie for the first time in the middle of summer. Let me tell you, I'm not hot at all. I feel great. Day 21 is an epic day, as all of us, except for Dan, all of the ladies, I should say, go out on a hunt.
See you, Dan. The ladies are off to go do the hunt.
Yeah. While you
thank
stay
you.
home and enjoy the real estate.
Now, Dan stayed back to set up the deep mines, which I guess is an important task, but we were really fighting for our lives out here. Now, we started off strong, you know, taking out all of these mews pretty easily, but things took a turn eventually when I got lost from the group. And when I finally caught up, things were not going well. I found Val face down in the grass. After reviving Val and I celebrated her new life. We kind of forgot to help out our group, and that's when I saw Kato quickly go down. And I take no responsibility for this either, okay? We may have gotten a little, oh god, she's getting ran over. There's a lot going on, okay? We're up there, and then I died. I also died. That's right, I forgot about that. Luckily for me, I got stabbed in the butt by Val, but also revived at the same time. So things are really going so well. Listen, in the end, we got a bunch of drumsticks, so that's all that matters. Now, we ran back to the garden, and I saw that all of our watermelons were ready to harvest, which was really exciting because this was the first crop we've ever actually harvested. So we spent some time picking up the watermelons and also cooking up all of the giant drumsticks so that we would have some food ready for us when we went down into the mines. Now, of course, after a long day of fighting mews, you might have to take a poop, which you're rewarded for in Dinkum. As you can see, I'm sitting on a toilet and I have a new milestone reward of the Dunny Dweller. So I guess this is your reminder to poop today, guys. Day 22 kicks off the first competition on our island, and it's a fishing competition held by, I think his name is Max. So I signed up for the fishing competition, which starts in an hour at 9 a.m. and the goal is to catch as many barracuda as possible. I also decided to purchase one of these competition rods for 4,000 dinks. I don't really know if it does anything specific, but I bought one anyway, and I ran straight down to the ocean to try to catch my first barracuda. Honestly, it's raining and super hard to tell what's a barracuda and what's not, but luckily for me, the first fish that I hook is actually a barracuda, giving me a closer look at what I need to be looking for in the water. So I finally reel it in, and this is what the barracuda looks like, and I quickly start catching as many as possible. I feel like I'm doing really well at catching them, and by the time we had 1 hour left, I made sure to run straight back to the tent so that I could log my score, which was sitting at 7 points. So I had to wait until the competition closed, and I was so excited to see that I won first place in this competition. I then sold all 7 of the barracuda, which Max paid me 212,000 dinks for, and I'm telling you what, I slept really good this night. I start off day 23 by having a chat with Fletch and of course purchasing some more licenses. I bought the landscaping license first, which unlocks a bunch of new fencing options for us, and then I purchased a waterscaping license where I could craft some water beds, although these require pearls, which are hard to get. The last recipe I got was a sign writing license, which I needed for very specific reasons. Now after that, a town co-agent from Go-Go Town visited us, and I checked out his inventory and saw that he was selling a bunch of cool little trinkets. I decided to purchase a Go-Go Town pet rock because, I mean, look at him. Now I also had a little free time after talking to the agent to craft up a sign of my own. So I made one of the signs and decided to place it down where I figured everybody would see it, and wrote down a very sweet and non-specific message to someone, as you can see. Now the next order of business for day 23 was to donate some of my money to the town debt. We were 200,000 dinks in debt, and I donated 50,000 dinks to help with that. However, the most exciting part of this day today was the fact that Dan finally placed the blueprint for the mines, and I contributed whatever resources I could to try to get it built up before laying down at the end of the day. On day 24, our most anticipated resident of all, Erwin, was finally visiting our island, so I went and purchased a handling license so that I could be prepared for whatever animals Erwin brought with him. Today he was selling chooks, and as you can see, Kato and I are very, very excited. Kato made the purchase of our first chook, and I decided to build up a little area with some fencing and a gate to give this chook a safe home in our little town. So I started by placing down the fencing. I made something really simple to start because again, we probably would end up moving all of this. I added a little gate when all of a sudden the most unexpected thing happened.
Oh, I let him out. What do I do?
Oh no!
Nugget, just a second. Nugget?
Nugget, calm down.
It's a good thing we didn't overreact because whistling brings them right back to you. Later that day, I decided to customize my home. I purchased a kit from John's shop that will allow me to customize everything from the exterior color to the roof and even the shape of the house, which was really exciting. I ended up landing on the white exterior with some brown trim and a black roof, and I really love how it turned out. I think my house looks super cute. I also went ahead and gave my pet rock a new home, which brings us to day 25, and today we go into the mines. We eat drumsticks and head down to our little elevator, I guess, that's going to take us deep underground, and I don't even know what to expect because the mines could be everything from fun to extremely dangerous. We're shaking, everyone's feeling a bit nervous before we finally arrive at the bottom floor. I step out into total darkness, pull out my flashlight to take a look around, and I am concerned. While we're going around, I'm picking up as many resources as possible, especially these glowy mushrooms because I think they would make great home decor. We also find our very first shrine and take a look in the treasure chest to see what kind of rewards we get. You can get lots of different things from the chest down in the mines, which is why you want to find as many shrines as possible. We're bombarded by all kinds of different creatures. We even find a ruby while we're down here, so not all things are bad, but it was definitely overwhelming to say the least. We head back up after our first day, and I have to say I'm happy to be back on regular land. On day 26, we do some more mundane tasks like normal stuff, like gardening and exploring. So I decided to purchase some seeds and a scarecrow from Rain's shop, and start my day by doing some gardening. I want to get started on planting up these tomato seeds I purchased, and with these purchases we were also able to influence Rain to finally move in as a resident. So we picked a nice place to set down her blueprint and got started on adding all of the resources we needed to build up her greenhouse. And look at Val showing off like her 20th amber. Now the greenhouse puts us in 50k worth of debt, so I contribute 25 dinks to the town debt just to help out a bit. I had some free time on my hands, so I decided to head back home and decorate with some of these little lights that we found down in the mines. I thought they would look good right out front of my house, so I placed 2 in the front and also plant some of these pretty purple flowers that I found around Dinkum. I thought these would look good right out front of the White House. That's when Steph and I got the bright idea to officially build a bridge that would link our lands together. She lives really close to me, but we had a river that's blocking us from being able to move across freely. So I met up with her at her plot and we decided on the perfect place to put this bridge. We see this little piece of land here that we think would make a really good place for the bridge, and that's where we decided to place it down. Of course, we both have to test the bridge to make sure it's sturdy, and it's really nice to actually be able to run straight across without any issues. The last thing on my list for the day is to pick up my fishing trophy, but look. I'll have everybody know that Dan has been so quiet because he has an entire city built over here.
What's
Excuse
a
me.
city?
Excuse me?
This is
No,
actually...
it's a city.
Dan, is this what you're using our money for?
What are you
Yes.
talking about? I've been spending all the money on the loans.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe what I'm seeing right now with my 2 eyes. Of course, Dan is claiming to have spent all of his money on the loans, but we've been contributing money to the loans as well, so very suspicious. I take my trophy and head home to get some rest for the night because that was a lot. Erwin's visiting the island again on day 28, which is exciting because I would like to purchase another chook to keep our original chook, Nugget, company. So I purchased a new chook for 5,000 dinks and give them a reasonable name, such as Tindy, of course. I show Tindy to their new home with Nuggy, and I think that they look really cute together. Look at Nuggy, they're all grown up. The next order of business for day 28 was to purchase some new licenses, starting with a vehicle license, which will grant me the ability to craft rowboats. I also paid a visit to Rain's new greenhouse, which is all built and looks great, before heading to the crafting station and crafting up my very first rowboat. This would come in handy later. which officially brings us into the first day of autumn on day 29 in Sunburn Shores. This season is so beautiful with all of the auburn colors and also mushrooms, which I love. I was running home when I had to stop by Steph's house to see how cute it looks. Excuse? Anyways, that motivated me to get to decorating my own plot. Now, moving around all of that stand made me realize I need some better tools, so I ran to John's shop to purchase a wheelbarrow that will help me move around dirt more easily. I placed the wheelbarrow down on my plot and also decided to place my boat out back just as a place to put it for now. Now, literally, I spend the next couple of days just moving dirt around. I need to terraform the land so that I can make spaces that make sense. I also added some more apples to this orchard area I was building on my plot just to help with the jamming and get back to moving around more dirt. This little area here was going to be like a little jammer station right next to the apple orchard that I thought would be cute. I also started carving out a little area for my workstation and also another little area that I wasn't sure what I wanted to use it for, but I just kind of carved it out because I knew I would put something here in the future. Now, Franklin also visited during this time, so I took a break from decorating to run into town, and I see this beautiful paving that Kato's been working on in town. I think it looks really good. So then I run in to have a chat with Franklin just to see if there's anything I can help him with, and also to see if there was anything new to order, which it turns out there wasn't. Since Dan had to do most of the relationship building with residents in order to get them to move in, I decided to head back home and continue working on my plot. Now, I wanted to build a walkway that would lead up to my home plot, so I started framing out some stairs that I think would look good. Originally, I placed a stack all together, but I really did not like how this looked. So then I decided to make some stairs with a little flat platform in between, which I really ended up loving how this was coming out. In the end, it turned out looking like this, which I was really happy with. I then decided to add some grass to fill in the dark red dirt, and I added some more stairs just to continue framing out my plot. I even spent some time clearing out trees before I was literally run over.
Oh! Steph!
God,
What?
Steph literally just ran me over. I'm still in shock that Steph ran me over with her motorcycle, but I get back to paving out some ground and also adding some more little decorations like mushrooms and things like that around my plot. That's when I think that framing the entryway with these glowing mushrooms would be literally perfect for the aesthetic that I'm going for, and I have to say I was pretty proud of myself. Now, unfortunately, starting on day 44, I lost all of my footage for the next couple of days, so Kato was so kind as to lend me some of her footage so I could kind of show you what we were working on. So right now we're manually digging out this river that we thought would look nice as it runs through the town, but digging a river, especially with no advanced tools to help, is really a long and manual process, but this was the only way we could do it, so Kato, Steph, and I worked together to try to move as much dirt around as possible. At some point I showed up with my wheelbarrow to help out with moving more dirt at once, but it was still taking a lot of time. By day 35, it was time for us to put down a bridge that would lead across both sides of the town, just making it easier to move around, and we decided on this brick bridge, which I think looks really nice. On day 36, we had the Sky Festival in town, and at this festival you craft a kite and then use the kite to pop the lanterns that are in the sky. Each lantern that you pop gets you a prize ticket, which you can then use to purchase some really cool objects from this little shop. Now, I spent most of the day collecting tickets and purchased some really cool stuff, which I'll show you later in the video. The next couple of days, day 37 and 38, we spent exploring the mines. We weren't really ecstatic to be back down here, but we really needed more resources and also wanted to explore more of the shrine. We were of course attacked by bats and other heinous creatures, but we also found a lot of shrines, one of which was where I found my very first saddle that I could use on one of the giant birds, and I was so excited. We all took turns going into each one of the shrines just so that we could fairly all share the loot. We even found rubies, but unfortunately we overstayed our welcome and both Kato and I ended up dying in the mines. Honestly, I blame Dan for this. This is definitely Dan's fault that we died. While taking a break from the mines, we did spend a couple of days decorating up around the town and specifically around the greenhouse. We just wanted our town to look nice, so Kato, Steph, and I are kind of thinking about how we want the grass around this area to look and also if we need to terraform the land at all. Now on day 42, I go looking for a Mew for the saddle that I found in the mines recently. So I find a Mew standing here just looking like a good companion for me. And look, we are literally perfect for each other. So we set off on a test ride and I head straight into town because I want to share my newfound companion with all of my friends.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Must be nice.
Doesn't Kato just sound so happy for me? I gave him a little twirl, but I will say riding the Mew is kind of weird. For some reason, driving in Dinkum just feels different. It took a minute to get used to, but I decided to head home and do some decorating. I really wanted to work on Toot's animal shelter area. I wanted to make it bigger, but that's when everything went to shit.
I think mine is as well.
Wait, why is this devil so big? Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
That's an alpha.
Oh my god, there's an alpha on my lot. There's an alpha. Oh my god. Oh my.
What?
What are you doing? Get away!
I want to see it. Don't kill it. I want to see it.
I'm coming.
He just.
Someone get the task on the board.
Oh my god. Oh my god. He's literally. Oh my. Where does this alpha come from?
It's mark accepted already.
Oh.
My bat is
Perfect.
doing
Now
no
you can kill
damage.
It turns out somebody accepted an alpha reward thing on our board and didn't tell anybody, so they're responsible for our deaths. And there were a lot of deaths. We spent majority of the day today trying to kill this alpha bush devil. We finally succeeded, but I was dead, as you can see. Which brings us to day 43, where Julia is visiting the island and hosting a new bug competition. And considering my winning streak, I really wanted to get first place here as well. So I purchased a bug net and set out on catching all of the bugs I could find so that I could make it into first place and get another trophy. I headed back into town after a day full of catching bugs and then logged my new score, which was 76 points, and sold all of my bugs to Julia for 24,000 dinks. And look at that, I placed first! This bug competition also leveled up my foraging skill and I made 68,000 dinks for the day. And I also got a recipe for the bee house, which was really exciting and would make perfect decor for our plots. Day 44 is a mashup of different tasks. I start by checking what resources we need in order to craft these bee houses or beehives. We need queen bees, and luckily we had 2, so I got started on crafting as many of these bee houses as possible. I was randomly gifted an orange flannel t-shirt by John, which is absolutely disgusting and ugly. I don't know why I put it on, but here I am running to Dan's house so that I can pick up the mail and my gold trophy for winning the bug competition. I'm just so proud. I then stopped by town because Dan got the wishing well blueprint and we placed that down and then got started on crafting up the resources it needed so that we could start making wishes that would possibly help our progress on the island. I ended the day with some more decor. I'm finishing off my little workstation area with some fencing. I also add a little gate to the front, and I decided to place the beehives right out front of the apple orchard area because I think it would look really nice, and end the day by petting Toots, who deserves it. On day 45, I start by breaking down my workstation area because it's just simply not big enough. And then I run into town and stop at Fletch's because I wanted to buy some more licenses. The one that I went with was the building license, and this one was really cool because after purchasing, I got the recipe for a windmill, which I think would look really good on my plot. Right after that, Dan lets us know that Milburn is ready to move to the island and he brings the bank. So we cleared out a little area for him and added some grass so that his building could be placed down. Now by the end of the day, I just put some finishing touches on some decor. I thought that adding like a little archway behind my little jammers would look nice, so I did that and also placed down a windmill right next to the house, which I think looks absolutely adorable. I wake up on day 46 and head straight into town to check on the bank progress, and I love that it's going to be a 2-story building. It's coming along really nicely, and I was gonna get started on some crafting and daily duties when Val had some really great news to share with all of us.
I got a hardwood flower bed recipe.
Ooh,
What?
That means
Oh my gosh.
you can place them on the bones and get the special flowers.
Oh my god, we're
Oh my
doing
gosh,
that.
I want a flower bed.
We need flower
I want
beds.
flower beds.
Flower beds now.
Flower
I'm
bed.
trying.
Make us
I'm
flower
trying.
beds.
Please don't stress me out. I'm scared.
Make us all flower beds immediately.
After torturing Val with all of our requests for flower beds, we ran over to see what the flowers look like when they're placed down on the bones, and look at how beautiful these flowers were. We were all so excited, and of course, the first thing we all did was run back to our plots. Well, at least what I did was run back to my plot and place down the flower bed so I could see how they would look. Now, these require a ton of hardwood, so I collected a bunch of that up and then ran into town to give it to Val so that she could make us hundreds and hundreds of flower beds because obviously we'll never have enough. On day 47, we have someone new visiting the island. I run over to see who it is in this purple tent, and it turns out to just be Sheila, which nobody really cares about. Anyway, so we get started on the rest of our day, and my first order of business is to check out the bank because Melbourne is officially all moved in, and I also want to see kind of like what it looks like in here, but it's a really cool building. There's a huge bank vault, and with most banks, you can deposit your money, so I put in 50,000 dinks just for a little security deposit on a rainy day. Now, I was kind of in my decorating era, so I ran straight back home and got to work on continuing this flower bed situation. I also decided to continue the work on expanding my little workshop area, so I added some more paving, more fencing, and a gate, and you can see it's a lot bigger and fits a little bit more of the things that I need now. So I think this size turned out to be perfect. On day 48, we see that Fletch's tent has a major upgrade. We officially have a building for Sunburn Shores, which is really exciting, and things are starting to come together, I think. So I run inside, and the first thing I check is the town debt, which is at 100,000 dinks. So I decide to donate 25,000 dinks just because I'm just so generous and so sweet. Later in the day, I'm running by Dan when I see that he's putting down the blueprint for a town bell, which will be really useful. And I spend the rest of the day gathering resources, which was kind of boring but necessary because we need lots of copper and iron for all of the things that we're building. Day 49 is super exciting because Erwin has officially decided to move to our island. I am so happy about this because that means we'll have more variety of animals to purchase from his barn, which will be really, really helpful in the future. So I collect up some grass seeds for my plot and also spend some time placing down paving just to make the land look a bit more interesting and of course more of a cottagecore vibe, which you know me. I then run into town to see that Dan has placed down the barn blueprint right across from our little garden area, and I'm just so excited to officially have a barn. Now unfortunately on day 49 my Mew gets sick and just remains sick forever, I guess. But also he gets blamed for getting all the other animals sick, which was truly just unjust and unfair. But that's okay because it's officially day 50 and we've made it halfway through 100 days in Dinkum. But our time on this island doesn't get any easier on day 50 because today we fight an alpha jackaroo. Now the first order of business is to stop by the new town bell, which I think looks amazing, and again this will help us track all of the visitors and residents on our island, so it was nice to have this bell here. Now soon after that I paid a visit to the bulletin board where I see a request to hunt the alpha jackaroo, which registers that that's probably what happened with the alpha bush devil that no one told me about before I was attacked and killed. Anyways, we run out as a group and hunt down this alpha jackaroo, which really turns out to be even more difficult to kill. We spend majority of the day poking, dodging, running, screaming, crying, throwing up, and of course also dying in front of this jackaroo. But eventually we poke him enough times that we get him down, which is of course worth us celebrating. Now unfortunately on day 51 all of our chooks are sick, which of course everyone is blaming on my poor little Mew, who does not deserve the slander. I'm telling you, I don't know why these chooks are sick, but maybe it's because I'm the only one clearly caring for them. So to save my Mew from the harassment, I run over and grab him and decide to head home just so that I can put him in a little quarantine area to make everyone happy. As you can see, we're a bit dizzy, but it's okay. We make it home. I put him in my workstation area just because that's the only area I had, and got to work on decorating my farm. Now I start by doing some landscaping because I wanted some stairs that lead down into the little farm area, and then I get started by putting down some stairs. I decide that I want just a little strip of stairs that run up the middle, and then I could use some of those mushrooms that I have to decorate the sides. I place down some grass so that the area is lush and green for our little animals when they arrive, and I also put down some fencing because we need to make sure they obviously don't run away. So I outlined the area with some fencing and placed down Toot's little coop, and I think that this looks really cute. And to end the day, Steph brings over some beautifully crafted benches that I can use to decorate with. Now it's officially day 52 and it's John's birthday today, so I check my inventory to see if I have any dog on a stick, which is also meat on a stick, but we usually use dog meat, so I gave him dog meat on a stick as a birthday gift, which it turns out that John really loves. Now after that I stood outside eagerly awaiting for the barn to open because I had not yet seen what the inside of his new shop would look like, and upon entering I was so happy to see that not only was he selling chooks, but he was also selling a pleat today. Now I couldn't purchase the pleat just yet because you need a specialty license for that, but I did decide to spend over 5,000 dinks on a doghouse that I needed simply for decoration. We'll talk about that later. I finished off the day by focusing on my daily milestones, which was to plant seeds, cook meat, and collect shells. On day 53, we give all of our dinks to Dan, as usual. Now this time it's because Dan claims we need to buy a motorcycle from Franklin, who is visiting today. If we purchase the motorcycle, then hopefully Franklin will move in. So we drop all of our money on the ground and hope that Dan is right about this.
Yay!
Yay!
Finally!
And a next cow.
Finally.
Let's
No,
go.
give us our money back.
Yeah, give me our money back now.
Franklin is officially moving in, which is really great for us because I feel like Franklin's probably one of the most important residents. He will help us with any technological type of advancements we need for the island, which is great. So we place down his blueprint and get started on constructing his little building that he'll need. And this is just a really exciting milestone for all of us. Now later that day, I decided to head back home and continue decorating. I placed down that little doghouse that I purchased, and I also harvested all the apples from my orchard just so that I can make some more jam. Day 54 kicks off with more decor as I put down some benches in front of these flower boxes, which I think looks really nice. I think it started on the farm area. I needed to expand it because it was just too small. I added a gate and ran back down to Irwin's because I wanted to purchase another animal for our little farm area. And inside, I am so happy to see that we have some wombats ready to be purchased. I spent $15,000 on my first wombat and decided to go with a name which I think is truly very reasonable. Tootie. I think Tootie's a great name. Isn't Tootie a wonderful name? I think so. So I pick up Tootie, run home with him inside of a box, and throw him down in his new little farm area, and of course, give him some little pets to make him feel comfortable and at home. Now I still feel like the area is too small, so I pick up some more fencing and I add some sections just to give them their own little areas, and I also expand the front just so that it's a bit bigger. I finish it off with some lights, and I'm really happy with the size of the new farm. On day 55, I run down to check out Franklin's new shop, which I think looks pretty cool. It's definitely Franklin's vibes. I love how it looks inside, and I also see that you can purchase some blueprints on the table, which will give you recipes for new things to craft, I guess, which is pretty cool. Now the rest of the day I spend doing some cooking and just prepping because we're about to head back down into the mines. So we make some giant drumsticks, throw our tools down in a big pile so that they can all be repaired at once. That evening I spend worshiping a giant chicken drumstick, praying to the Dinkum gods that our mining run will go smoothly. However, my prayers were answered in a different way.
Oh, shooting stars.
Where? Oh, I was wondering what that sound was.
What do we do
Did you
about
hear a
it?
meteor?
Yeah, no, I just hear chew, chew.
Yeah, I just heard that sound.
I think I just saw where it might have crashed. We have to find... No, that might be where it crashed. Wait. We have to find the meteor. Like, that crashes on the ground.
This was my first meteor shower and I had no idea what to expect, but as you can see, the meteor is finally crashing down, and so we all had to run that direction once it hit the ground.
Whoa!
So we all run over to gather around the crash site, and as you can see, there is a giant meteor in the middle of the ground here, which looks really cool if you ask me. So all at once and all together, we all mine up this giant meteorite to see what's inside, which as you can see gives us some berkonium ore, which is interesting. Which brings us to the end of day 55. Day 56 kicks off with us doing girly pop things in the elevator while we wait on Dan.
The chicken in the
Oh, so cute. Friend pack.
All of that laughing ceases as soon as we exit out the doors into Green Hell. And yes, that is what I've named this place Green Hell because it's absolutely terrifying down here. But of course I'm going to make the best of my time down here by gathering up all the resources I can and trying to just stay alive from the crazy, insane creatures that live down here. We're all fighting for our lives, but really looking for shrines that we find along our way while we explore, but the shrines are completely infested by worms. I don't even know what to say about these things. They're absolutely disgusting and extremely dangerous. After what feels like a decade, we finally return to the elevator, sick and just beat up, if I'm being honest. Day 57 kicks off winter on Sunburn shores, and we're really excited for a new season, and we spend the next couple of days decorating our town. But first, we had an alpha croco to take out. Now, we get 27,000 dinks for this, but I realized pretty quickly that this was a mistake.
Hey guys, I just got here and I'm turning around. Yeah.
Wait, I want to see it.
Yeah, no. Not messing with whatever that is.
Unfortunately, it was too late to turn back. We had to take on this alpha croc, and we really needed the 27,000 dinks, so here we are, battling it out. And this was another animal that took pretty much majority of the day. Now I found out if you stand on the top of the croco's back, you could get a couple of good hits in without getting bit. So I tried to do that a couple of times, but this doesn't save us from dying a lot. Now it was time for us to switch up strategies. That's when I saw a Bruce in the water, so I swim over and think maybe I can create a diversion. I'll have the alpha croco fight the shark, and at first I think this is working out pretty well. They do take a couple of hits out of each other, but he quickly regains his focus on us. But that doesn't stop us from taking him down and getting our reward money. With the alpha croco out of the way, I could focus on decorating the barn. So I flatten out the land and then add some fencing down first. I just basically fence out a big square around the barn, and then I add some sections inside the barn for the different little animal areas that we would have. I sit down the coops inside and then switch focuses to the greenhouse because we also wanted to decorate this area as well. So we spend majority of the day moving around a lot of dirt so that we could have flat land, and I also take a break in the middle to purchase a wombat, which we name Jack, and put into the back of the farm area. I get back to moving dirt around, and when I say moving dirt around, I mean a lot of dirt. During this time, I also decorated the farm a little bit with tools and also some lights just to give it more of that little farm vibe. And at some point, we also accepted another request to kill an alpha croco, except he did majority of the killing, if I'm being honest. However, we finally get him down, and we all victoriously ride home together in that expensive truck that Dan purchased. Once we get back to town, I run over to Irwin's and purchase another wombat and name it Jamie. So now we have Jack and Jamie, which I think is really cute. And I add down their little stall so they have a comfortable place to sleep at night. Now with all the new animals coming in, it was time for me to purchase another license so that I could finally purchase Pleeps from Irwin's. So I purchased the handling license level 3, which allows me to make an animal den. I even got a recipe for a silo, which I think would look great right outside the farm. Now I purchased the first Pleep for 25,000 dinks and name it Quack, because that's reasonable. And also I wanted to show off this little area that Dan had been working on. This is our new storage / crafting area, and I think it looks really amazing. So I craft up a silo, place that down right outside the backside of the farm, which I think looked really good, and it'll also feed the animals, which I think is helpful. I crafted some dens so that we could house our new Pleeps, and everything in the farm really was coming together, and I think it looks really nice if you ask me. I also put down some feeders because obviously they have to eat, but I'm just really happy with this creation. Now all of this animal caretaking also had me remembering that I had my own animals at home to take care of, so I petted Tootie and milked it for the first time, and I finally was able to make my first cheese, which I was really super excited about. By day 62, our town area was really coming together. You can see the greenhouse has a whole farm area behind it, and I even have a new outfit. I finally look cute for once. Now again, I pay another visit to Irwin and purchase another Pleep, which we name something reasonable, like Platty. Platty's fitting! And by day 63, we have a new resident moving into town. Melvin officially decides to move to our island, and now we'll have a furniture store, which is another thing we're really excited about. I'm putting the finishing touches on the barn area, and also we're planting the rest of the crops that we need in the back of the greenhouse, and we're just really happy with our progress so far. The most interesting thing that happens on day 65 is a new hairstyle from Sally. So Sally's visiting, and Kato and I are pretty excited about trying some new hairstyles. Sit down in the seat and spin through a bunch of different hairstyles, but land on one that looks exactly like my current hairstyle. Which brings us to day 66, which I start off by giving Jack and Jamie some pets just so that they know we care about them and love them. And then I head over to visit Fletch, who I talked to about a new license. I can see that I have a new animal processing license that will give us the ability to craft a spinning wheel, which I think will be useful. I also got a cat hood from Irwin, which I put on immediately, and I'm matching with Val, who has a penguin hood, so we're just two animal people living out here, living our lives. Now, of course, I spiced up this look a little bit with some sunglasses I found in a storage chest, but then I was gifted the Renaissance dress and completely changed my whole look again. Now, the next 2 days we spend in the mine searching for fossils and other treasures. We come across our first shrine pretty quickly, and upon running in, I fall straight through the floor to my doom, and that's the end. Just kidding, I survived. And upon my arrival back in the mines, I made sure to grab this chest that I could use for decor on my home plot. We continue running around and exploring, gathering resources, which is when we came across a ruby, which we set down to get processed, and we finished off the remaining amount of our time searching for fossils along the cave walls, hoping that we could find anything that would help us make a little more money. By the end of day 68, we left the mines with 6 fossils and a ruby, which I would say is not too bad. We run these fossils back into town and quickly sell them at John's Goods before the store closes. I weigh mine, which comes out to about 11 kilograms. It sells for 116,000 dinks. On day 69, I decide I also need another new hairstyle, so I am back at Sheila's shop and I decide on the 2 buns in a darker hair color. I wasted another 10,000 dinks on this, but hey, you know, it's style, it's fashion. I also stopped by Melvin's new shop to check what was in store, but I can see it's already been pretty much purchased out. So I looked through the inventory and purchased some things that I think could be useful for my home when I start decorating that. I decided to order this kitchen sink, which I think would come in handy for making some type of kitchen area in the house. And on my way home, I ran into Dan, who was acting suspicious.
What are you doing, Dan? Whoa. Dan's trying to attack my bird?
You see what I mean? They are so mean to my little Mew. He doesn't deserve this treatment, but everybody wants him gone. With that aside, I decided to continue some decor on my plot, which takes a couple of days. So between day 69 and 71, I add some flowers and decided it was time to expand my plot a bit. I wanted to make a dock area for the boat that I crafted earlier, so I moved some dirt around to make an access point from the back of my little workstation area. My thought process is you could walk up these stairs and then walk down a set of stairs in the back that would lead to like a dock area where my boat would be. And by day 72, I'm sporting a new dress, as you can see, and also witnessing another meteorite shower. So right now we're just kind of waiting to see where the big one is going to drop. But in the meantime, Steph and I are working on some paving leading from the town all the way to our home plots and also adding a bridge here. Finally, the meteor hits the ground in the back and we head off in that direction to check out what we get from our second meteor on the island. I get here first and then I wait on everybody else to arrive. You can see Kato glides in on her little leaf glider. So we break this down, we get some more Boconium ore, and everyone decided it'd be okay if I kept my own little meteor pet, which was really cool floating around my head. Look how awesome I look. Now I pop out of my bed on day 73 in a brand new outfit, and I think I look great. I sport this new outfit over to Fletch, who I purchased a new fishing license from. The next fishing license that I can purchase will allow me to make fish ponds, and this is very important for the future. I then stop by Franklin's and purchase this blueprint recipe for a field mushroom lamp. The next person I visit is Theodore, and y'all look at this.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Theodore's wearing the
The tinfoil hat? Oh my god.
Is he actually?
He looks so stupid with his glasses.
So you see, I gifted Theodore a foil hat a couple of days ago, and it turns out today he decided to put on, which is just amazing. Now over the next week and leading into day 80, I spent a lot of time purchasing different furniture items and different things I'll use to decorate my home plot and the interior of my house. So after my visit with Melvin, I ran home and added some of this new decor down. I cleaned out the room, added in these walls, and I thought this would be perfect for making like a little bedroom area in the house. So I placed down a bed, the new bookcase that I purchased, and also the mirror. The next order of business was to continue building the dock that I mentioned earlier. I added some steps, some paving, and also some fencing to give it the feel of a dock, and finished off the dock by adding my little boat at the end, which I think looked really nice. Now I paid another visit to Melvin, who was selling some potted plants and also a really nice dresser, so I purchased both of those things before running home and adding them inside of my house. I think the orange plant really brought in some color into the room, and I was really happy with how the aesthetic was going. And I of course continued my work on my dock area. So here you can see I'm moving sand around so I can make this little step system next to the stairs, and I decorate each little platform with lights, flowers, and just some decor to make it look a little bit fancier. I also added down some crab pots, not really to catch any fish or crabs, but just because aesthetically I think they look cool around the dock. By day 79, I've decided it's time to craft my first field mushroom lamp, which I decided to place down right next to the jamming station, and I think it looks really cute right there. And by day 80, I had started fleshing out my little beach patio area. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do just yet, but I started adding some paving and also some stairs that would lead down into the water. Obviously, this is purely design, but I just thought it would look really nice when it was finished. On day 81, I switched from doing home design to some town design with Val, who is working on creating a little area in the back of the museum. So we start with this idea of putting down display cases in the back. We thought this would be nice for us to put up on display some of the rare items that we may have collected. And some of the items that we chose were the meteorite chunk, the bush devil eye, and also a thunder sack, just because we thought they looked cool. I think this area was coming along really nicely. Val was doing a great job. Now day 82 to 86, we spent solely in the mines. We set a goal for ourselves to make 3 million dinks so that we could purchase a helicopter, which would help us to get around the island. So we go in with our jackhammers and just mine the walls as long as possible and collect fossils. This is actually really lucrative and turned out to be a really great way for us to make money. By the end of this first mining session, we had 10 fossils collected, which is a huge amount of money. We load the fossils up in the back of our truck and then head to John so that we can sell each and every one of these. Each one of our fossils sold for a little over 100,000 dinks, so this was a great dent in the goal that we were trying to achieve. And on day 84, we gave Dan all of our dinks as usual, which totaled to 1 million dinks. Leading us to day 85, which kicks off spring, and this is our absolute favorite season in Dinkum. It is so beautiful, the grass is so green, and flowers start blooming everywhere. I mean, just look at this sunset in the green grass. It is absolutely stunning on the island. But the sweet smell of those new flowers was short-lived because we had to head down into the mines and continue our endeavors to find more fossils that we could sell to get to our goal. Now, this day turned out to not be as easy to find fossils because by the end of the day on day 86, we only had about 6 fossils and 2 rubies. First thing in the morning on day 87, we go to John's shop to sell those fossils that we found the night before, but unfortunately these weighed significantly less, meaning we only made about 60 to 70,000 dinks on each one of these fossils, which is still good money, but not what we were expecting. So that was a little unfortunate. Later that day, I stopped to smell the flowers literally because as you can see, the spring flowers are blooming everywhere. So I collected some for my home plot before starting on my dailies. So I really need to complete my dailies so that I can get some mileage points to get that fishing pond. So I chopped wood, smelted some bars, and I also did some hunting in order to finish my dailies for the day. On my way home, I also decided to stop by Steph's house to see how progress was coming along, and to my surprise, don't you see, she has this beautiful purple tree, which she swears she tells us all about this, but I have no recollection, so I blame Steph. Depressed about the purple tree, I returned home and remembered that Dan said that he was going to rent my home out, so I have a for rent sign, and soon I'll probably have someone renting my home, which will make me a couple extra dinks. Now I spent some more of today focusing on decor. I wanted to make a little area for my trophies, so I set up some display boxes and some lights and put my trophies inside, which I think looks pretty cool. I wake up on day 88 and start by putting down some of those beautiful flowers I've been collecting up. I have everything from these red bushes, which I think are stunning, and also just white daisies and just a ton of different flowers. So I decided to decorate my plot, and I also noticed I have my first installment of dinks from my renter. 4,000 dinks is not bad. I will definitely take that. Now later on the day, I spent a lot of time working on the town and also moving dirt around the river so that it would look a little bit more natural. This took a good bit of time, but I think it's worth the effort. Now day 89 is a truly exciting day because I finally had enough mileage points to purchase that fishing pond that I've had my eyes on. So I purchased the updated fishing license that also grants me the ability to craft this fishing pond. But looking at the resources, you can see I need 10 pearls, river seeds, seaweed, crab pots, and a gold fishing trophy, which is so sad because I wanted to keep my fishing trophy, but I'm going to need it in order to craft the pond. So I get started on looking for the pearls because I think that's going to be the most difficult, and I have no idea what I'm even looking for. Now luckily, Dan had marked some places on the map where he had found pearls before, so I set off in that direction to find some. Now pearls are actually in these giant clams, as you can see, and when you take the pearl out of them, they close down, so I guess they regenerate maybe daily. I wasn't able to find much, but I did find this giant egg on the way home, so I snatched that up, which is kind of sad, but also I was curious how much this thing sold for. So I brought it to John's, and I can see that I got 20,000 dinks for it, so I definitely think that's worth it. Now day 90 rolls around, and I'm back in the middle of the ocean surrounded by sharks looking for pearls. Now on this day, I do get really lucky and find a ton of pearls. They all seem to be close by each other for whatever reason, but hey, I'm not complaining, because I needed a lot. So by the end of my search in the middle of the ocean, I was able to find 11 pearls, which I feel like is a really good haul for the day. So I rode back home to my home plot and then cried in front of my fishing trophy because I just wasn't ready to give this thing up, but we needed it for the pond. So I did the deed and finally crafted the fishing pond, and I was so happy to put it down. And let me tell you, it was all worth it because the fishing pond is stunning. I mean, look at this thing. It's literally so cool, and it's so much bigger than I expected. The next order of business was to add some fish into the pond, which you can see Dan's doing here. And look at them, you can actually see them swimming around, which is really, really cool. Now I had some pearls left over, so I crafted myself some water beds for all of my hard work that I could use to decorate on my plot. Don't ask me why, but by day 91, I finally realized I could actually paint my boat. So I grabbed some pink paint and I turned my boat into the cutest little pink rowboat. I'm obsessed with this color. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, but look how awesome I look. But I had no time for ocean activities today. We were headed back into the mines to do more fossil searching. We're still working on getting the 3 million dink we need for a helicopter, so this was our primary focus for the day. We did find a decent amount of fossils. You can see by the end of the day, we leave off with 6 or 7 fossils and also a ruby, which is not too bad of a haul for the day. I jump out of bed on day 92 and leave the fossil selling to everyone else because I am on a mission to decorate my home plot before the end of these these 100 days. So I run home and get started on the dock build. I add some stairs that I think made it look really nice, and also these lamps that I'm clearly obsessed with. You find these in the mines, and I just think they look good everywhere. Now I also started experimenting with these waterfalls, and I have no idea how to use these, so it was really a learning process. But hey, I mean, everything gets better with practice, I guess. So I also decided that I want to do a little waterfall area in the back of where I keep my trophies. So I start piling up the dirt and adding in waterfalls, but I quickly realized I don't have enough water beds, so I'm gonna need some more pearls. Which is why on day 93, I'm heading back out to sea because I need to spend some more time finding some pearls so I can craft more water beds. I had pretty good luck finding pearls today, but I also found something even more interesting because what is this?
I feel like this is, I've been out here in the water for a little while. I feel like this is a rare fish or something.
Now, from the looks of it, I could tell this was probably a tuna, but I've been out in the ocean and I haven't seen a fish like this, so I figured it might be worth some money. Kato spent some time reeling it in, and that is definitely a tuna. I mean, look at that bad boy. It turns out that tunas sell for 24,000 dinks, which was nice. Now, I did get enough pearls for more water beds, so I spent some time crafting those up, which is when I had the idea to add a waterfall behind that little fish pond that I crafted. Now, I was not doing the best job because, again, I really don't know how to work these waterfalls, but my first iteration looks like this. And I don't think it looks too bad, but that's when Kato pops over and offers a hand to help me make this look a little more natural. So the first thing we decide to do is to pull up the pond and then put it down into the ground a bit so that the waterfall looks like it's going into the pond more than it looks like it's standing over the pond, if that makes sense. We also use the stone wand to add some more of a rocky feature to make things look a little more natural, and I think this looks 1,000 times better. Kato truly has an eye for design because this is already looking stunning. Now, she did want to make the waterfall look a little more natural as well, so we picked up the water beds and kind of reformatted the waterfall to look like this. It looks so good! It's officially day 94, and although you can't see it, we are all super excited because we reached our goal of 3 million dinks and we ordered a helicopter from Franklin. We are so excited about this, but Kato and I continue our work on the fishing pond before I head home and start building up some more waterfalls on my plot. I also used the stone wand to add more of like a little rocky decor, a little rocky structure around some of these waterfalls, and I'm really happy with how this looks. I think it looks nice for my first try. And by the end of the day, I put down this sign that Steph crafted for me that I think really adds a nice touch to the entrance of my plot. It's day 95 and we officially have 5 days left in our 100 days on our new island. And look at this cute little second space that Val decorated. It's like thread space, but second space. And honestly, second space is nicer. Look at how cute this is. I then head over to Dan's house to see that we have our helicopter pad and our new helicopter placed down, which of course we have to dye pink because why wouldn't we dye it pink? It has to be pink, okay? And look at how cute Val looks in her pink outfit in the pink helicopter. This was just meant to be. We take off into the sky for our first flight and we are just so happy to have hit this milestone. This took a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, so it really felt rewarding. Val agrees to give us a lift to our homes and look at us flying over our little town. We are truly so proud of this purchase, if I'm being honest. I get back to my home plot and start by giving my little house a name, I guess, my plot a name. I decide to go with something fairy tale-esque because of the vibe, which I land on Fairy Tale Cove, and I think it fits really nicely and also looks great on that sign. By this point, my plot really just needs some finishing touches, so starting with the dock, I throw down a little table and a bench just so we have a seating area at the dock, and I'm really loving this vibe. I also add some books and a little plate as some clutter and decor, and also whatever that thing is that I threw down by the stairs. I don't even know what that is. I'll also start working on another big project, which is a home garden. Now, I decided to put some stairs here that would lead down into this area, and then I need to focus on kind of clearing everything out. I also put down a nice mushroom lamp because I thought that that would look really cool. I plant down some pine cones so that I can have some pine trees growing in the right locations. Before finishing the night off with this waterfall decor, I'm not obsessed with how this looks, but I don't think it looks bad, you know? Day 96 starts with a peaceful helicopter ride passing a beautiful rainbow in the sky, which we completely forget about as we descend back into green hell. Why are we down here again? I don't know. I guess to find stuff, but again, we're just not prepared for this area. It's nothing but madness. We do find out if we use our jackhammer, we can get down vines off of the ceiling pretty quickly. So we collect up some vines, fight off terrifying worms who are trying to literally eat us before heading back to the elevator so that we could get back to safe land. We did end up leaving with 5 of these green gems, which I think are called emeralds. And in the morning on day 97, we head straight to John's shop to sell these emeralds. I got 37,000 dinks for mine, which was not too bad. The day gets even more exciting though because Dan has something very special to show us.
Oh my god!
Do we have a knife?
This is so cute.
Oh, I need
I need one of these.
I need.
Where do I report to see this?
We're outside of John's Goods.
Of course, we pressure Dan to make us all some wells for our own home plots, which we then run home and immediately decorate with. I think this is perfect for the build that I was working on. I place it down in that soon-to-be garden area, which is when Val stops by on her perfect pink helicopter. She looks like a goddess and drops me off some dinks that we didn't end up spending on something we were hoping to buy. Now, I finished off the night by adding some of these glowing mushrooms to the little garden area I was working on before I headed into bed for the night, but it got real awkward because what is my tenant doing? The next couple of days was all about putting the finishing touches on Fairy Tale Cove, so I start by buying some more furniture that I think would match better in my home, and I also purchased some seeds from Rain so that I could start on that little garden area that I've been working on. Now this is when I head to Dan's house to pick up some of that furniture I ordered, and to our surprise, Dan's little town that he's building has these beautiful vine like archways, and when I tell you we are in shock, how could you hold out on the vine archways with all the cottagecore girly pops? What are you thinking?
Dan, gatekeeping the vine arch is the craziest thing.
With this group is actually insane.
That's okay though, because Dan decided to rectify the mistake by making us all our own arches, which I placed down first thing in the morning on day 99. I think it looked great there. I also got started on adding in all of my little garden plots, and I planted the seeds that I'd purchased from Rain the day before. Now I thought that it would look nice to add a little waterfall here because, I mean, why not? Waterfalls are everywhere. Now the only problem with this is that little gray piece that's showing in the front. I decided to try to hide it by using a bush, which, I mean, it works. It works for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's when I head down to visit Fletch and purchase my last license of this 100 days. I decided to get the brewing license, which would allow me to make some kegs. These look awesome, so I quickly craft up as many as I can before Val gives me a helicopter ride back home. You see how handy this helicopter is? I place these kegs down outside, and I also decide that I'm going to put some finishing touches inside by adding down some of that new furniture I ordered. Which officially brings us to day 100. It's been a long journey. Together, we've overcome obstacles, built a thriving town from scratch, and turned Sunburn Shores into a true home. I'm so proud of everything we've accomplished, so let's end things with a final tour and some music because I think you've heard enough from me. So how did we do? Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the video. Also, please don't forget to like and share. It really does help so much. I appreciate you so much for watching. And until next time, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.